Right. Hey guys, welcome to our Farm Today YouTube channel. Hey guys, welcome to our Farm Today YouTube channel. My name is Dembalera. I'm the founder behind Farm Today, and today I want to tell you a bit more what Farm Today is all about. We founded Farm Today in order to create a more fair and a more sustainable food system. So what we want to do is we want to bring you the most healthy food around you and also give you the information and the knowledge what's happening in the food industry. This is one of the first videos in our YouTube channel, so I just want to explain a bit more what it's going to be all about. We're gonna have interviews with chefs, important people in the food industry. We're gonna show you recipe updates, news and facts, and just explain a bit more what's happening out there to give you the best knowledge. So today is a very exciting day because today we have planned a trip to one of our suppliers. It's the Lindenhof Farm, and they have a festival. It's the Fine Food Farm Festival, and we have a celebrity coming there straight from America. We're gonna have Joel Salatin. He's he has been named as the world's most innovative farmer out there. He's gonna come by there. He's gonna talk a little bit, and maybe we even gonna grab maybe have some live one-on-one, or can have some questions for him. So be hyped, guys, man, and let's see what's about to come.
And then you can educate people. For example, grass-finished beef sometimes to get you got to realize the older the animal, the richer the taste. So amino acids, proteins.
Ja, aminozuren. Weet iedereen wat aminozuren? Umami, I hear you.
Okay, they take time to develop. We're all familiar with simple and complex sugars. Okay, well, we want complex amino acids, and it takes time for all of those building blocks of amino acids to build. That's why an older beef animal tastes better than a young one. A young one is much more bland in flavor. What you're tasting is the complexity of the amino acids as they age. A stewing hen, an old culled chicken, stewing hen, much richer taste. You know, the stock you make is just, it's wonderful. Whereas a very young chicken is fairly bland, and you make sauces and spices and you embellish it. But an old stewing hen, man, it's got wonderful taste, but it's tough. It's tough and it's old. So it has to be long and slow cooked. So all of this stuff can be cooked to a tenderness, but it takes different cooking techniques to get it there. And that taste, that richness, is a reflection of the complexity of those amino acids. So what is wrong, for example, in a restaurant offering an older cut of beef that's tougher but cooked differently, with a story that goes with the product, and also offering a very young, bland tasting thing, and let people choose and take the journey through. We've been in restaurants, for example, with our eggs that have the regular egg, and then they have the pastured egg, and let the customers choose to go on a journey. It's okay to offer choice and let the customer go on a journey.
How do you find, a question about balance. How do you find the balance between not butting in, so to say, and not telling people what to do, but giving this kind of advice? Because I imagine that's a difficult thing.
Listen, I know very few people who don't want to learn something. Most people, including me, does anybody here want to learn something? Of course we want to learn something. Our customers want to learn something. And so if they can come to our restaurant and go away feeling like they have been, in English we say English is so malleable, you know. So we call it infotainment, informational entertainment, information entertainment. If you could go and be entertained at this wonderful dinner and leave knowing something more, that's a what we call that's a twofer instead of a one-fer. That's a twofer. Okay, we paid for the meal, we got educated, and we got fed at the same time. And so I find that people actually respond to educational messaging. They respond positively to educational messaging.
So that's a task for chefs, what you say. That's a
Yes. responsibility
that you all can take to have more infotainment.
Yes,
at the table.
infotainment. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Are there any other questions in the room? We're gonna have a longer Q&A in the open garden later, but I think we can open up the floor. I wanna hear from Dirko a little bit. Hey, Dirko, what's your take on the whole story today?
Yeah, it's great to hear a lot about the ground and the soil. But I hear also a lot about meat, and I'm producing meat, also milk, but also meat and also vegetables. But a lot of people say you're not allowed to eat any meat anymore, and you only talk about meat. And but maybe that's more for the open garden, or maybe.
I think it's a very relevant question, Dirk. Thank you. Yeah, it's something that we've talked about before when we invited you here. Is that Lindhof obviously has a big meat component to the company, and now that there's a lot of talk about you shouldn't eat meat at all, and it's healthier and it's better for the planet. But is there a way to have meat that's actually good?
Sure. Well, you have to understand there is no ecology on the planet that doesn't have animals. I think you have to start there. There's no ecology on the planet that has animals. So if we start asking, well, why are there so many? Why are animals around? There are lots of reasons for animals to be around. The reason for herbivores is to prune the vegetation to restart the fast growth cycle. Otherwise, it just gets old and dies, and volatilizes carbon into the atmosphere. So herbivores are pruners, and now with electric fencing and all that, we can actually steer the herd around the pasture. And so we don't feed the herbivores grain; we feed them only forage to allow them to use their fermentation tank. Animals also decompose things very fast. Nature decomposes things relatively slowly, but in the digestive system of an animal, they take biomass and seeds and things, and they decompose what it would take 6 months for nature to decompose. They do it in 24 hours. And so they stimulate the biological cycle. So there are a lot of reasons for animals to be in the ecosystem. They fill this wonderful synergistic component. The problem comes when we take the animals out of their historic role and segregate them away from their historic role. So we put them in a feedlot, we feed them grain instead of forages on herbivores. So we take the chickens and we put them in a confinement house where they can't run around anywhere or get fresh air and sunshine, and we put them in very unnatural environments. Too many of them in too small a place. And so I think this is my, fourth or fifth trip to the Netherlands, and between the first time and the third time, the Netherlands began spending, $2 billion a year now to dehydrate manure and send it back to Paraguay in the empty ships that brought the grain. Trust me, the room's getting quiet now all of a sudden. What's he going to say? Trust me, the world doesn't need the Netherlands to feed it. And
applause.
And the world, the way for Uganda to feed Uganda is for Uganda to feed Uganda. There's plenty of soil, plenty of water, and plenty of resources, and plenty of intelligence in Uganda for Uganda to feed Uganda, or Kenya, Kenya, or the Barbados, okay? All of these places have the resources. I've traveled all over. They all have the resources. They don't, I mean, for the Netherlands, I'm getting into fearful territory here, but for the Netherlands,
that's great.
For the Netherlands to import genetically modified organism grain from Paraguay and make and feed concentrated animal feeding factory farmed animals to be exported to China, and then China to export apples and grain to the United States, and then for the Netherlands to ship manure, to dry down manure and ship it back to Paraguay. This is nuts. It's completely unsustainable. And so what happens is that the Netherlands is turning into a toilet in order to feed the world. Is that what we want to do? Too much poop, okay? So nature goes to a balance, to an equilibrium. You know, when there's too much of one thing, then something else grows. In nature, you know, one of the principles of nature is, one, there is no waste. Nature has no waste. Number two, nature has no away. When we say we're going to take it away, there is no away. Away is somebody else's backyard. And nature does not ship carbon very far. In nature, the only distance carbon goes. Yeah. The only distance carbon goes is as far as a excuse me, as a leaf blows off of a tree, or as far as an animal eats and walks somewhere and poops. Carbon doesn't ship across the world. When Asia had their high-path avian influenza outbreak, 8 years ago? That outbreak followed precisely the shipping container loads of feathers from the United States poultry factory farms, container loads of feathers being shipped around the planet, and that's where the high-path avian influenza started. They were grinding the feathers up for chicken feed and for dog food, fertilizer, that sort of thing. Folks, feathers, thank you. Feathers are not supposed to be shipped around the globe.
So, Joe, I think
nature never did that. And you know, our problem as humans is we're so clever and we're so intelligent that we can innovate things that we can't physically, morally, spiritually, or emotionally metabolize. My dad used to call this overrunning our headlights. We can invent things that are so clever that it takes the next 3 generations to fix the problem that we innovated.
I think there's one very important question also for us at Lindholz. Without overrunning your headlights, is that how you put it?
Yeah.
Is there a way to scale up the way that you rear animals in a proper way?
Oh, absolutely. What I'm describing, I mean, you have to realize that 500 years ago, what is today the United States, 500 years ago, grew more food than it does today. A lot of people don't realize that. And it should give us all pause to realize that these massive herds of bison, the mega fauna, the mega flora, massive flocks of birds. In 1800, there were flocks of birds that were so large that people didn't see the sun for 3 days from a flock of birds going over. Those were not factory houses. It was not John Deere tractors. It was not seeds and tillage. It was an awesome choreography, a dance, a ballet of intricate symbiotic relationships of many, many species. And today, with hormones, pharmaceuticals, cheap petroleum, we have been able to trick ourselves into thinking that those historic patterns and templates are no longer necessary. But I'm telling you, nature bats last, and if we want an honest balance sheet, it will actually measure, it will actually reflect the external costs of the pollution, the abatement. I mean, we now have a dead zone the size of New Jersey in the Gulf of Mexico created by chemical runoff from the mouth of the Mississippi. What's the cost of that? It's not $2 chicken. You know, there's a different cost to that. And so the final thing I'll say about the chefs that we love are the chefs that are creative enough and value driven enough to appreciate that the supermarket price is not an honest price. And when you start paying for human dignity in the production and processing chain, and you start paying for animal dignity in the production and processing chain, and you start paying for soil dignity in the food chain, you start paying for that, guess what? It's going to make a different price. And so it's up to all of us to figure out how to message our healing story so magnetically, so evangelistically, that people can't help but embrace it because it's so compelling. And that's the story we can tell.
Thank you, Joe. I think the even.
Alright guys, it's late in the evening. We just came back from the Fine Food Farm. It was amazing. I hope you enjoyed it as well as I did. Joel Salatin was really a true inspiration. And this was the part 1 now, where we got Joel Salatin speak about some of the current food problems, about how animals behave or should behave in the modern farming system, and especially what I like the most, how he actually told how the supermarket price that we pay nowadays is not an honest price. And so what we're gonna do now is in part 2, gonna be either clickable here or here, we will actually go over to a live Q&A that we were able to had with Joel Salatin after his talk. So get that going for you guys. I hope you enjoy it, and see you next time at Farm Today. Cheers.